Good evening, Wood County, and welcome to your BG24 Sports Highlight Show. I'm Jerome White. With me tonight is my co-host, Zach Carrion. In our Around the Country segment, we will be joined by Jordan Swick of the Bowling Green Radio Sports Organization.
Tonight we'll be analyzing the BGSU football team this past Saturday, followed by a quick look at the preseason press conference with Coach Bergeron of the BGSU hockey team. Stay tuned, we have it all right here on the BG24 Sports Highlight Show.
Unfalcon believable coverage that you won't get anywhere else. This is BG24 Sports.
Welcome again to your BG24 Sports Highlight Show. This past Saturday, the Falcon football team battled the Purdue Boilermakers. The Falcons had another exciting matchup against a Big Ten school and managed to improve their record against the conference to 2-0. The Falcons quarterback Matt Johnson and running back Travis Green were two of the major bright spots against the Boilermakers.
And what a big game for Travis Green. The running back had another two explosive runs. He rushed for 70 yards, 2 touchdowns, and had 75 yards receiving. It was very impressive.
The second man that helped BG gain the victory over a Big Ten school was Falcon quarterback Matt Johnson. Here we'll take a look at some of the numbers that the quarterback put up. Johnson completed 72% of his passes, going 43 of 59 for 102 yards with 1 touchdown and an interception. Johnson was only sacked twice in the game. Johnson's strong game helped him earn MAC East Offensive Player of the Week, as well as being the nation's leading passer thus far in the season. Coming up the rest of the season for the Falcons. Let's take a look ahead at the Falcons football schedule. This upcoming Saturday, the Falcons will travel to Buffalo. They'll then return home for games against the University of Massachusetts and the University of Akron. Following their homestand, they'll travel to Kent State to take on the Golden Flashes. And after their Kent State matchup, the Falcons will then take on the Ohio University Bobcats. The Falcons have to prepare for another away game against Western Michigan.
Well, that schedule looks really exciting. I think the Falcons are going to do very well in the MAC conference this year.
Yeah, if you can beat 2 Big Ten teams, I don't see why you can't beat the rest of the MAC. So what do you expect for the Falcons this season? MAC championship again?
I'm expecting at least an appearance in the MAC championship. I think they might take it this year.
You think so? I think they might take it as well. If this offense can keep up being as explosive as it has been these past couple of weeks, and if Matt Johnson can keep up his explosion with 400 passing yard games, I don't see why the Falcons can't win the MAC.
Yeah, that's really unbelievable. 400 plus yards passing games, and it's unprecedented. He's leading the nation. It's incredible.
Yeah. And within those 4 games, mind you, we've only had 4 games this season, so every game this season has been over 400 yards passing, which is impressive in its own mind. So.
Falcon hockey head coach Chris Bergeron held a press conference this morning. He talked about the upcoming season and the team's overall improvements.
From year to year so far is just don't change anything. We think we've upgraded our talent. Now our freshmen know 23 wins. Excuse me. Our sophomores know 23 wins. Our juniors know 18 and 23. Our seniors have been to the league Final Four a couple times. So that to me is how you build on it. That's what they expect. This is what we do here. This is how we operate, which is what we've been waiting for. We're getting closer to that. So how do we build off it? We don't change anything. We keep pushing. We make sure the expectations are something that everyone has their arms wrapped around, which is that daily process approach, which we talked about 6 years ago. So that's how we're going to build off it. We're just going to keep doing what we've been doing.
So, Zach, you actually had a chance to attend the press conference. Was there anything else that Coach Bergeron had to say about the season?
Yeah, he talked about the upcoming season, but one of the more interesting things that he talked about was how 5 years ago, the program was actually in danger of being completely eliminated. And that's hard to imagine now because of all the success that they had. They were so close to making the tournament last year, and this year, they're probably going to make the tournament.
Yeah, and you think about the success that they had and the success that they're going to have. Like seeing that them trying to get rid of the team all in all 5 years ago is kind of surprising.
Yeah, and it's going to be a fun season to watch.
Stay tuned for Around the Country, our weekly discussion and debate on the hottest topics in national sports. Jordan Swick of the Bowling Green Radio Sports Organization will be joining us. We'll be right back.
Welcome to our discussion and debate segment called Around the Country. I'm joined by Jerome White and Jordan Swick. All right, guys, we got 4 topics here today. We have the BGSU football team against the Big Ten this season. We have McCown versus Johnny Manziel and that quarterback controversy in Cleveland. We also have the makeup of the AFC North this season and how the Bengals are on top, and you see teams like the Ravens at the bottom. And lastly, we got the huge scuffle between Bryce Harper and Jonathan Papelbon. So we'll start off with BGSU football. They're 2-0 against the Big Ten this season. It's really impressive to see that because a couple years ago that would have been unimaginable to see them beat a Big Ten team. But I gotta say that these teams are not at the top of the Big Ten, so I want to see them beat, impressive teams. We've got Ohio State next year, and I want to see them compete against those high-level teams. What about you, Jerome?
Well, Big Ten is Big Ten, and you still expect a Big Ten school to defeat a MAC team. And Bowling Green to even be competitive against teams like that, because you have to look at the scouting, the players that these teams are picking up. We're not supposed to, Bowling Green isn't supposed to be able to compete against teams of that nature, but they have been able to, and they actually have been able to get wins. And so getting these 2 victories against the Big Ten, I think it's a pretty impressive feat, to say the least.
Jordan, you got thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Bowling Green, when you look at it, I mean, Bowling Green is 3-1 in the last couple years, or 3 years, I guess, against Big Ten teams. Sure enough, they might have been against the lower level Big Ten teams like we just mentioned a little bit ago. But, I mean, get this. They have as many wins against the Big Ten as Michigan, Rutgers, Illinois, and Northwestern from a season ago. So as the big school is Michigan that we all know of. The fact that we have as many wins as Michigan has dating back to last fall is really impressive from this Bowling Green football team.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how the team will improve against these Big Ten teams in the future. Now let's move on to Cleveland. And in Cleveland, we got a quarterback controversy now. We have Josh McCown getting the start last week against the Oakland Raiders, while Johnny Manziel sat on the bench after an impressive game against the Tennessee Titans. I just don't understand this move at all. Johnny Manziel, he's an exciting player to watch, and he gets wins now. Yeah, he's matured a lot over the past 2 seasons. And Josh McCown, he's been in the league for so long, and he really hasn't shown us anything. I don't understand this move. Maybe, Jerome, you can make some sense of this.
Well, I thought I would be able to make sense of it, but I don't see the Browns competing with McCown as a starting quarterback. He likes to sit in the pocket, and the pocket collapses on him. He doesn't have any other plays to make. He'll just take a sack. Whereas Manziel, if the pocket collapses on him, he can get out of the pocket and make something out of nothing. And the Browns missed that this past Sunday against the Raiders when that front 7 just kept pushing our offensive line back into Josh McCown's face. And there was nothing that he could do about it until the 4th quarter when they tried to make their comeback. But I don't know how Mike Patton is going to get this one put together. Manziel is on the bench wanting to get in the game, and McCown's been the backup his whole career. He's not a starter quarterback in this NFL.
Now, Jordan.
I find it really surprising how Josh McCown was actually named the starter for week 3 again. McCown, as we all know, got injured in the first game on the first drive of the game for the Browns, and then from that point on, Johnny Manziel had the rest of the first game and the second game as well. Johnny Manziel won his first game of the year, I think it was in his career in week 2. So it was really surprising that Patton decided to go with McCown over Manziel on that.
Well, we're going to see how that decision plays out, and I know we're hoping for the best for our Browns. So we're going to move on to the AFC North. It's an interesting makeup this year. You see teams like the Ravens and Pittsburgh Steelers. They're not at the top of their game anymore, and you're seeing teams like the Bengals undefeated and on top of the division. And we got Ben Roethlisberger out. We got Michael Vick coming in at quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. What's happening in the AFC right now, Jerome?
Well, I honestly thought that the Steelers were going to win the division, but that Roethlisberger injury really hurt their chances. Unless Vic can show off like how he did the first season in Philly, I don't see the Steelers being as competitive in this division. Well, they still have Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, so maybe. The Bengals are the top pick in the division right now, and it's so surprising that the Ravens are 0-3 in this division. And I think that they can make up for it, but we all know it's going to be the bottom team if everything keeps going the way that it's going, and that'll be the Cleveland Browns. So it'll be the top 3 teams, the Ravens, the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Pittsburgh Steelers competing for the division championship.
Well, I wouldn't have the Browns picked at the bottom quite yet. Jordan, what do you think about that?
I mean, I agree with Jerome. I mean, he was spot on. I believe that the Steelers were probably the favorite to win the AFC North this year until Ben Roethlisberger's injury yesterday. But I mean, you look at the Bengals; they're currently off to a great start, 3-0. The Ravens 0-3 for the first time in their franchise history. So that's just really surprising to me, and I gotta like what the Bengals are doing so far.
Now, moving on to the next topic, we got a big story in baseball. We're getting ready for the playoffs, but we had an interesting situation between Bryce Harper and Jonathan Papelbon for the Washington Nationals, having a little scuffle, a little choke match in the dugout. And you know what? I'm all for it, man. Look, you're already out of the playoffs. You know, have a little fun, have a little scuffle. And look, it makes baseball a little bit more interesting to watch. Jerome, what do you think about that?
Well, me personally, I think it all just depends on what the argument was. It's like Papelbon reacted like Bryce Harper said his mom sucks or something. Like he just choked him up into a corner and was just manhandling him in the corner, honestly. And Papelbon is now suspended for the rest of the season. Well, their season was pretty much over with anyway. And Bryce Harper, he's out for the rest of for this game today. And when you look at it, Papelbon has to get his maturity together. He just got a 3-game suspension for targeting a player, and right now he's just in the media for all the wrong reasons.
Now, Jordan, what do you think about that?
I mean, you got two of the biggest hotheads in Major League Baseball, and they just so happen to be on the Washington Nationals. So, I mean, you got the youngster Bryce Harper, and you got the veteran Jonathan Papelbon. Apparently, Papelbon wasn't too happy with Bryce Harper. After he flew out, he didn't hustle down to first base like Papelbon may have wanted. So that's probably what they were discussing in the dugout. And, you know, both of them have to have the last word. And when both guys have to have the last word, you know it's not going to end well. And that's exactly what happened. And, I mean, like you said, it's great for the sport. I mean, baseball is a very slow-paced sport. It can be boring to some unless you're a diehard fan. So I think it's good for baseball, but it really is a shame for the Nationals and their organization that it had to be those two players.
Yeah, and it's weird to see because the Nationals were definitely thinking World Series this year because they had big impact players like Bryce Harper. And to see them kind of self-destruct and miss the playoffs completely, it's got to be disappointing. It's got to be frustrating. And with all that testosterone in the locker room, you know, something like this is bound to happen. And that's it for our segment. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to check out BG24 News on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, tune in tomorrow at 5:30 tomorrow for our local news show. We'll see you next week.